We have many options for Venezuela, including a possible military option.
All options are on the table.
All options are on the table.
Soon after Socialist President Hugo Chavez took office, the U.S. began promoting regime change in Venezuela. For over a decade, the U.S. government has imposed over 150 unilateral coercive measures, also known as sanctions. Unilateral sanctions, blockades, and embargoes have a long-standing history. Spoiler alert, they don't work. In 2015, the Obama administration laid down the groundwork for a financial blockade against Venezuela, with an executive order declaring Venezuela an unusual and extraordinary threat to the United States. Venezuela a threat to the largest superpower on earth? Really? Then, just 6 months after Trump took office, he went beyond Obama's measure by sanctioning the Venezuelan government, the state oil company PDVSA, and its US affiliate, Citgo. In April 2019, the US State Department published and then deleted a fact sheet boasting it had caused a 763,000 barrels per day cut in oil production. Economist Francisco Rodriguez estimates that the 2017 sanctions cost the Venezuelan government $17 billion a year in lost oil revenues, and that this year's oil sanctions will cost an additional $10 billion.
Sanctions is the strongest and most credible explanation for this behavior in the production of Venezuelan oil.
By strangling the state-run oil sector and by freezing the government's foreign assets, the country loses its capability to obtain the foreign currency needed to import food and medicine. Then, on August 5, 2019, the Trump administration imposed a total economic embargo against the Venezuelan government, freezing all its assets and prohibiting transactions with it. In addition, Trump, Pence, and Pompeo have all threatened military actions against Venezuela. Yes, of course you heard US officials say that the sanctions are not meant to hurt the Venezuelan people and that there are exceptions for food and medicine, blah blah blah. But in practice, things don't work out that way. Companies around the world are so afraid of being sanctioned themselves that they shun all transactions not only with the Venezuelan government, but with the private sector too. To be more specific, there is an advisory on widespread public corruption in Venezuela, enacted by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, the Anti-Money Laundering Unit of the Department of Treasury. This leads to overcompliance by companies, meaning that they avoid doing business with Venezuela even when it's not being banned. I know, right? You don't believe me? Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's talk about baseball. See this letter from the major leagues? They're saying that the Office of Assets Control hasn't come out and said that it's not okay to play baseball in Venezuela, but they'll cancel the season, just in case. Maybe you may not consider baseball that important, but Venezuelan officials have denounced, for example, that some 300,000 doses of insulin paid for by the Venezuelan state did not arrive in the country because Citibank boycotted its purchase.
La afectación de estas medidas coercitivas unilaterales asciende a $30.000 millones. Eso equivale más o menos a 10 años de importación de medicamentos y alimentos para el pueblo venezolano.
The Venezuelan blockade has the same effect as a conventional war. Death of innocent people, damage to infrastructure, and generalized suffering. A report published in April 2019, before the total embargo was initiated, by Jeffrey Sachs and Mark Weisbrot from CEPR, has found that most of the impact of these sanctions have not been on the government, but on the civilian population. The report estimates that the sanctions have led to over 40,000 deaths since 2017-2018, making them a collective punishment, which is illegal according to the Geneva Conventions. Other experts have also warned about the devastating effects of the sanctions. It is clear that what we're seeing in Venezuela It's another war for oil.
It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States.
Yes, the US win-win arguments seem noble. They want to restore democracy in Venezuela. They want to help the people of Venezuela. They want to stop the suffering of the people of Venezuela. What they don't say is that the blockade has cost Venezuela over $30 billion. What they don't say is that 68% of Venezuelans believe that the sanctions have adversely affected their quality of life and oppose them. What they usually don't say is that they know very well that the sanctions hurt the Venezuelan people.
En este momento quizás la mejor resolución sería acelerar el colapso, aunque produzca un periodo de sufrimiento mayor por un periodo de meses o quizás años.
What they do say is that they have no interest in resolving the political conflict in Venezuela short of ousting Maduro.
We don't, in a sense, care what deal is made. If Nicolas Maduro is in power, we are not lifting our sanctions.
What they don't say is that sanctions don't work. What they don't say is that sanctions are illegal. What they definitely don't say is that sanctions kill. What we do know is what they're willing to do in order to punish countries that do not comply with Washington's dictates.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
No se trata de si te gusta o no te gusta Maduro. Se trata de entender cuál es el verdadero motivo detrás de las acciones contra Venezuela y de no permitir que el gobierno de los Estados Unidos viole sin impunidad el derecho internacional para forzar un cambio de régimen. Go to CODEPINK.org to sign a petition to ask our Congress to put an end to the economic blockade and illegal sanctions on Venezuela and to support a peaceful negotiation among the Venezuelans.